And welcome back to another episode of Great Lakes Post live stream. I'm Casey Campbell. Thank you for tuning in. We have a very special guest today from the NTT Data IndyCar Series, coming off an 11th place finish at Texas Motor Speedway in the IndyCar Series opener last week. Chalie Kimball, the driver of the number 4 Novo Nordisk Chevrolet for AJ Foyt Racing. Chalie, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun talking racing, especially after having gone racing.
Yeah. I know that you ran up front in the top 10 all night, and I know some things happened late in the race to, go back. But 11th is not bad, after the year that you had and after the year that AJ Foyt Racing had last year. Overall, I'd say it's pretty good. Would it be a pretty good day for you?
It was a really good day. From when we unloaded Saturday morning, the car was pretty competitive. We felt pretty good about it in practice. We made a couple of changes, not big things, just tweaked it here and there to get better for qualifying. But we'd spent a lot of time before we ever got to the racetrack thinking about what the day was going to look like, how it was going to be different, being a one-day show, practice, qualify, race. And you have to race your qualifying car. Usually we're trimming out in qualifying to try and get as fast as possible. But racing our qualifying car meant we ran a lot more downforce, and we had to make sure the gears were right in qualifying so that they were right for the race as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was, these one-day shows, but you still had practice. You still had qualifying, unlike NASCAR. But, I know a lot of guys, that was their first time on an oval. But how did you adjust to all that and, not having the fans there, wearing a face covering and all that fun stuff?
It was very atypical. It was very unique. Wearing a mask all day. It was a long day at the office. My alarm went off at 4:30 Saturday morning. A bunch of the teams were on a charter down to Texas, and then did practice, did qualifying, did the race. It was 96, 97 degrees. Felt like 107 with the humidity. Fire suit in a race car with an aero screen, so it was pretty hot. And then we flew home that night, and I got back to my house at about 3:30 Sunday morning. So it was 23 straight hours of work. So it was a long day, and it was so weird hearing the national anthem over the PA, and then when it was finished, it was quiet. It was almost eerie, because no race I've ever done, from go-karting to Formula Fords to IndyCar, have we had no fans. I mean, there's always some friends and family in the grandstands.
Yeah. Let's talk, the weirdness of all that. I mean, I understand, not having fans there. I think NASCAR's gotten used to it. Okay, we're racing in front of no one. But I'm sure that, what I saw from the TV ratings, it was pretty up. And I think it helped that it was on national television. What was it like, because it looked like a lot of people did tune in and watch IndyCar's first race back.
Well, it's good to have live sports on TV. I'm a sports fan as well as a racing driver. So to be able to go to the racetrack and put on a show for the fans at home, while they weren't at the racetrack, they were able to tune in. First time, Saturday night, prime time on NBC. Ratings were pretty good. I think we put on a good race. Strategically, it was unique because of the tire limitations, because Firestone, with the shutdown, couldn't produce the tires they wanted for the race itself. So we were having to pit every 35 laps of green, which created a unique strategic challenge for the engineers and the strategists on the timing stands. And at the same time, the track itself, as hot as it was a really narrow lane. I mean, a single line, not a lot of grip outside of that. So passing was at a premium. Track position, which you don't usually think about at Texas, but it almost raced like a short track in turns 1 and 2 and a super speedway in turns 3 and 4.
All right. Coming up, we'll talk with Chalie about more about IndyCar and some of the things that you might not know about him after this.
Is that beautiful? And then you're going to have the
Is your money not sure what to do with itself? At ally, we'll help it save for the future with our smart savings tools. For all things money, you deserve an ally.
And we're back. Chalie Kimball joins us. So, one of the biggest things that it's well put out there that you're also a diabetic. Your car is set up differently than other drivers. Talk about that specifically. I know we kind of talked about that when I had you on the Zoomcast a few months ago, but kind of tell what it's like to go racing. What did the team has to do to keep your blood sugar levels good?
Well, my IndyCar is different than everyone else's because my body's different. I wear a continuous glucose monitor, and it transmits to a display, and that display actually plugs into the car's data system. So right before I get in the car, I hand it to one of my mechanics, Andrew. He plugs it in so that when I climb in the cockpit, I get my blood glucose right there on my steering wheel. And not only can I see it in the car, but it's transmitted via telemetry radio to the pit lane so the engineers can see it. In fact, I got a report this morning from my data engineer with my blood glucose tracking plus lap speed plus position in the race based on the whole race data that they pull out of the software. And then I send that to my endocrinologist, my doctor, and my exercise physiologist. And we take all that data and figure out if there's a way that my management could be better, my numbers could be better, so that I could be more competitive for the future, which is pretty unique. And I think using having diabetes as a reason to be a better athlete is something that I'm really proud of.
Yeah. This offseason, you signed on with AJ Foyt Racing after a few years with Carlin, and before that with Chip Ganassi Racing. Did you ever think you'd drive for Supertex?
I wasn't ever sure, but it's pretty special driving for AJ now, especially our first race being in Texas, his home state. He didn't make it to the race this weekend. I think between the heat and some of the health and safety factors, he spent some time on his ranch on a tractor, but he was watching at home because Larry and I got calls right after practice, right after qualifying, right after the race. So he was definitely paying attention. And like you said, it was good to see the AJ Foyt cars, let them know we were there. We were running up front. I think we were up as high as third, fourth at times. Strategically, and a few issues with lap traffic, maybe not understanding where they were in the span of lead lap cars. We probably should have finished in that 4th to 6th, 7th range. We had a small miscalculation on the timing stand, so we ended up 11th, as you said. Had a little damage at the end of the race, but still finished 11th, which is a solid start. For the first time I've ever raced for that team, first time racing the number 4 car, first time with the aero screen, on a one-day show with no fans. There was a lot different, and we still executed really well.
That aero screen, of course, the new safety initiative put forth by IndyCar this offseason. What was it like running with those on?
It was different. Visually, it was totally fine. Even with the sun turning into turn 3 a couple of times early in the race, there was glare right in our face, but it wasn't ever too much glare. And even the racing optics tear-offs held up really well. We only needed to pull a tear-off once every 2, maybe even 3 stops. And Texas can be one of those events that when we didn't have the aero screen, our helmets would get pitted and worn really badly because of the dust and the dirt at the racetrack and in the air. And the aero screen held up fine. It was maybe a little hotter, but with the forced air coming into the back of our helmets and through our helmets, we were able to stay pretty cool.
All right, coming up, we'll preview the Indy Grand Prix on 4th of July weekend, and NASCAR is going to be there as well. We'll be back.
What is this thing?
A Roxor.
Ain't no turn signals.
No traffic where this goes.
Ain't no plastic.
Nope, box steel frame too.
Woo-wee, that's pretty. No nav TV screen.
It's up there.
Ain't got no license plate.
Ain't street legal. That's the best part.
If you're looking for unmatched capability and industrial strength durability, it all starts here for under 16 grand.
Ain't no toy, huh?
Nope.
All good.
And we're back. Chalie Kimball joins us. So before the break, we talked about, the IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader at the road course. So how it works is the IndyCars will run first, I think at noon, and followed by the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And then the Cup Series will run on Sunday on the traditional Indy course. What's that going to be like? Having all those people. Unfortunately, they will be closed to the public, but it's still going to be Indianapolis.
It's Indianapolis. The GMR Grand Prix has been one of my highlights. I qualified second there a couple of years ago. I think I had like 3 fourths or fifths in a row. I like the best average finish of anybody in the paddock for a few years. It's a racetrack I really enjoy and have fun with, but it's going to be unique. It's unprecedented with a NASCAR IndyCar doubleheader. The fact that the Xfinity cars and the Indy cars will run the road course. I think practice, qualify Friday, race Saturday, as you said, right before the Xfinity cars, and then the Cup cars will run Sunday on the oval. I think it's going to be a lot of work for IMS and the track crew to switch from road course to oval Saturday night into Sunday. But I'm going to be watching the Brickyard on Sunday from home. And I hope it's after having a really good result on Saturday.
Also, of course, the big story heading into IndyCar is the sport is under new ownership with Penske or with the Penske organization taking over. It looks like they really have made selling on this sport as IndyCar is, and I think that it's going to be a bigger change when the Holman George company had it for so many years. It's basically going to be a lot better. What changes have you seen with that?
You see it from top to bottom. How they run the organization, both in IndyCar and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Living in downtown Indianapolis, I drive past the Speedway off and on a couple of times a week usually, and seeing some of the different updates and upgrades, and it just, I think Tim Cindric actually at Penske Racing said the other day, it just looks like a younger facility at the moment. And I think that's a great way to say it. They're just some little pieces that have been cleaned up, and part of that's fresh ownership, fresh eyes, looking around going, why aren't we doing that? Can we do that? How about this? And these different thoughts. And Penske always runs a top shelf organization in all of his businesses, from his race teams to his promoters to the truck rentals to the car dealerships, the body shops, all of those. And applying that same business level and quality business acumen into the facility and the racetrack, I think it means the sky's the limit for the future.
Yeah. And, previewing this race at the Indy road course, you said that's one of your favorite events. First time that you've been with this team on a road course, what are you going to expect with this car?
Well, we were really competitive. The 14 car with Sebastian Bourdais was really competitive at the COTA Open test back in February. And I think there's no reason we can't be competitive. We're going to go spend some time, just a morning at the Team Chevy Driver in the Loop simulator before we get to the Grand Prix racetrack. So we'll have an idea on the car and we'll have an idea on setups. And like I said, we can execute the best we can. And when it comes to the race day, we'll get the best result possible and see how we learn from there, headed to Road America the weekend after.
All right, Chalie, thank you so much for doing this, and we'll look forward to watching you at the Indianapolis Road Course on the 4th of July weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks, Casey. Thanks for having me.
And I would like to thank all of you for the privilege of your time watching this Great Lakes Post live stream. I'm Casey Campbell. We'll see you next time.